Check, check, check. Better? All right, everybody. Welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor here. Good to be with you on this very chilly Saturday night here in Denver. If you're joining us virtually and you're not in Denver, well, be grateful because it's like 3 degrees outside and snowing. We're under a winter weather advisory. But look at you people here. You showed up. How about that? Y'all, if you're new here, I want to let you know that this is a community for addicts and loved ones of addicts and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction. We call this place and you people free because all the things that set us free, grace, compassion, love, forgiveness, these are the things that are so freely given by God. So you people, this place, this community is free. A couple of things you might need to know about coming up this, well, not necessarily this week. But the first thing I want to let you know about is tonight, if you hit the share button, if you're watching on Facebook, I know some of y'all are watching on YouTube and the website, but if you're watching on Facebook, if you hit the share button, you are entered to win a bag of coffee. Tammy Canaday and Wagon Coffee is giving you a free bag of coffee. So I don't know how she's going to do that drawing. Will you let people know at the end? She's going to pick a winner at the end, do some sort of drawing, and she's going to let you know by the end of tonight's service. Also, did y'all know we have an app? There's an app for that. We have an app. It's free to download this app. This app is called Free Spiritual Community. If you go to your app store and type in Free Spiritual Community, it'll come up. And we're encouraging everyone to download this app because we want this to be the central place for information, for how we get our stuff out. So I encourage you to download the app. And I think we have a little video that was made over the summer, don't we? Let's throw that video up on the screen, shall we?
Let's ride worldwide. Tap the app when it's time to slide. Let's ride worldwide. You know the code to roll. Let's ride worldwide. Tap the app when it's time to slide. Let's ride worldwide. You know the code. First pickup, I get LAX real quick, then off to Hollywood where the party is lit. The strip's a trip, yep, you know the code. Another 5-star rating when I'm on the road. The vibe and the ride's always extra chill. Making boss moves, yeah, strictly real. If your playlist is hot, let's rock the block. Connect the Bluetooth or patch in the aux. Let's ride worldwide. Tap the app when it's time to slide. Let's ride worldwide.
Yes, that was hot, wasn't it? Oh, they did that for free too. Hey, on a bit more, so download the app. I encourage you to do that. On a bit more of a serious note, we do free gives around here. We try to do these events monthly or every other month, and I want to let you all know, we did a live video on this week, but if you missed it, our next free gives event, and these are done out in our parking lot, it'll be Wednesday, February 24th, and I want all of you to come to this. Wednesday, February 24th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We've got the Colorado Pizza Company food truck that's going to be here. So we've got 150 personal pizzas. These are free for you. These are paid for by free. And actually what's really cool is for this event, the Colorado Pizza Company said they wanted to do this event for us at cost. They want to be part of what we're doing, and here's why. Our boy Tomas Hernandez, some of you remember him. He was a storyteller here this summer. He's the owner and founder of Tribe Recovery Homes. Well, his home, his personal home with his family in it, burned down last week. And so we're going to do a big fundraiser for him. We've got a Sign Up Genius link with all kinds of items that they need, like bed comforters and clothes and just different household items. What happens when your house burns down and then they come in with big hoses and everything gets wet and destroyed. So that whole thing, the whole night is dedicated to him. We're going to do cash donations and gift cards as well. But come and support that event. Even if you can't afford to bring anything, that's okay. We want to come and be part of community because part of doing this work and supporting one another is just by showing up. So seriously, if you need to come and just have a free pizza, a good wood-fired pizza, come do that. Be present. Be community. Let us love on you and you love on other people, and it's going to be a good event. That's Wednesday, February 24th. And speaking of, I know we generally save giving for the end, but I want to say it at the beginning this week. I just want you to know when you guys give here, when you give financially, what kinds of things we're able to do. We're able to do things like this. And I know for many of you, giving is a spiritual practice. It's we have our giving box, got one on the wagon here. The wagon's a central image of this community. It's scattered throughout, free, but giving here is what allows this ministry to thrive. It's what allows the mission to thrive, and that is to break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. So I cannot thank you enough for your generous giving in this community. Truly, when I say this, you need to know it makes a big difference. It's impacting lives, not just here in Denver and in Colorado, but all over the country and all over the world. I think Danny told us a couple weeks ago we're in 20 different countries, 45 countries, 20 different languages. We have groups joining us virtually. Welcome from all over the country, Washington, North Carolina, Florida, all over the country. And we're so glad you're part of this community. And I do want to let you know there's 3 ways to give in this community. And the first way is you can download the app and give directly on the app. It's coming on your screen. There's the app, Free Spiritual Community, and you can give on that. Or you can go directly to the website, which is freespiritualcommunity.com, and you can give there. The third safe, simple, and secure way is to just text the number on your screen. And like I said, it is your generous giving that keeps the mission here thriving at Free. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being part of that. All right, y'all, that was a lot. That was a lot to kick off. I hope you remember it all. Here's how we begin here at Free. We begin with celebrations. And the reason we begin with celebrations is because we like to start with the good news, because God knows in this community especially there's enough heartache, there's enough heaviness. We don't ignore that stuff, but we don't start there either. We start with celebrations. So this is your time to take just a couple of minutes. What's up, my brother? Take a couple of minutes and give us the good news. Sobriety anniversaries, birthdays, new jobs, new babies being born, the good happening in your life. Share it with this community. If you're on Facebook right now or YouTube, put it in the comments. Let this community celebrate with you, because something profound happens when we join in celebration together and God joins with us in these celebrations. So get vulnerable. I know it can seem weird if it's your first time typing in a comment about your life. I encourage you. I want you to get vulnerable, get open, get honest, give us the good news. Take 3 minutes. We're going to do it here in person, then we're going to come right back with y'all in just a minute. So take 3.
People ask me what my secret is. I just smile and say, follow me. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Life's too short not to really live. I got a big heart, I can let you in. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. On top of the world. People ask me what my secret is. I just smile and say, live for today. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the sun came up and I gotta say, see it in a whole new way. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. On top of the world. Yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. People ask me what my secret is. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Ask me what my secret is. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world.
All right, dude, 60 day. Man, yeah, shout it out. If you're with us virtually, give us one moment. We're still celebrating here. Yes. Get to go back to work on Monday. All right. Yo, we just celebrated some incredible stuff here. A year sober, almost a year sober, a birthday, mom getting cancer cleared up, and more good news and being out of quarantine, 60 days sober, going back to work. This is the good stuff. This is the good stuff. All right, Tammy, welcome.
Yes, I got my winter parka on still.
Yeah, it's a little cold. It is chilly.
Hey,
We're going to celebrate with the rest of
You know
y'all.
who else's birthday it is today?
Who's?
Besides our dear Lindsay.
Mama. It's my mama's birthday. Happy birthday, Mama.
Mama.
I called her this morning. We FaceTime.
She's watching you.
If
you
she's
know.
watching right now, I just got called out in a big way. But I did call her this morning. Happy birthday, Mama. Love you.
Yes, happy birthday, Cher.
All right. Shall we?
Yeah, good to have you here, Suzanne. Praising God for 9 months clean and sober.
All right, Suzanne. They're in Arizona right now, aren't they?
Oh, they're a lot warmer than we
Oh
are.
my goodness. Let's keep going. We're going to work on that resentment later. Carrie says, because of recovery, support, and God's grace, I get to reunite with my oldest son tomorrow. It's been 4 years.
Wow, Carrie.
That's what I'm
Ann.
talking about, Carrie.
Yeah.
Good news.
Awesome.
So cool.
Cindy says celebrating Austin tonight. Great steps. Good,
Yes.
good, good.
All right. Thank you for sharing that with us, Cindy. Alyssa says, also, our sweet baby is 9
There's
months
no way.
old.
Wow.
How did that happen? We're going to talk
so
about that and
good.
celebrate, but that was quick.
And Ricky says, today I'm 21 months sober and I've received a job promotion this week that I've been wanting.
All right, way to go, Ricky. Thank
That's
you for sharing
big.
that with us, brother. Congratulations. Gina says, I started my job November 30th, but it's been amazing, and my team is a blessing in my life, makes work not suck. I think I put suck on into that. So cool. Thank you for sharing that with us, Gina. Congratulations.
Good. Lorna's in the house somewhere.
Yeah, making coffee in the back.
She says, I'm seeking a new way to be in a sober community. I've relapsed a couple times over the past year. God is calling me. Yeah.
Yes. Lorna, thank you
Yep.
for sharing that. Keep that up there one moment. I just want to share a word about Lorna. It's her first time here tonight,
Yep.
and yet this
She's
week she
serving.
volunteered to serve in this community. She's in the back making coffee, and it's her first time here. That's how we do in this community. We recognize that serving other people keeps us sober, so that's the way we do it. Thank you, Lorna, for being here. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah. Let's actually, if y'all have more, you can keep them coming in the comments throughout the night. We'll celebrate with you.
Mike
What's that?
Anderson? Mike Anderson, you're the winner of some recovery roast, and I know you like wagon coffee, so more's coming your way, brother.
Mike Anderson won the coffee. All right. I didn't win it. Thank you, Tammy. So good to celebrate with you all. Listen, we are in this third week of this series that we are calling Selfless. And we're going to keep this train going. But before we do that, check out a little video. Selfless Part 3. So earlier this week, on Wednesday afternoon actually, I did a post on social media, and I was saying how many people I've met and talked to just in the last 30 days who have had such negative, harmful experiences with religion and the church. And we call those people here spiritual refugees. And I went on to say, just identify 4 very simple and basic things that I've learned along the way about the God stuff and doing community together. And someone commented on this thread. And by the way, you can go read this post or thread if you're interested. It's public. But this person said, yeah, you should try moving in with one of your pastors as a roommate, and only to have that pastor sexually assault you and then have the church protect him. And I wrote back and I said, dang, dude, I am so sorry that happened to you. And by the way, if you don't know who I'm talking about Rob Decker. This is public, so you can go read it. There's no secret here. Rob Decker, some of you know him. He was a storyteller in this community last year. If you know Rob, you know that he is very open and generous with his heart and with his story. And after I said, dude, I'm so sorry that happened, he said, yeah, in a weird way, it's like I have gratitude for this event now because I'm able to take that experience and bring hope and healing to others who might have gone through something similar. You see, what would it look like for you to open your heart? And y'all, I get it. I get it. It's scary, right? That can be scary to open yourself because you can't always predict the outcome. You don't always know how it's going to turn out. And how many times have we said, or how many times have we heard it said, yeah, I'm not doing that. I've tried that. It doesn't work. Those people hurt me. I've already tried that. It doesn't work. Yeah, I know. I get it. Been there, done that. And what else I know is if you continue to live that way, in my experience, what we do is we start roaming around the world and we set up all kinds of defenses and barriers because we're never going to let someone in here. And we start trying to prove to people how much we're worth. And we'll have lots of ways to prove it, don't we? We're going to prove how much we're worth by how much money we have, or how smart we are, how many degrees we have, where we went to school, how much I know about a particular subject so that I can argue with you endlessly. And by the way, never let you in here, but argue with you. Because nobody is getting in here. You see, my brothers and sisters, what does it look like for you to open your heart even though you've been wounded or betrayed or hurt by people in your life? For those of you in recovery, for those of you who have worked the 12 steps, it can be scary, right? It's a scary process. I mean, dang, I had this fear when I first got sober and when I first came into the rooms of recovery, the 12-step rooms, it was this fear of, oh my goodness, I don't want anyone to see me. Because it was this fear. If you know me, you're not going to want me. No, you don't understand. Not only am I a drunk, I'm a pastor. Nothing sexy about that, being a drunk pastor. And it wasn't just with people either. It was this fundamental belief that, God, if you really knew me, trust me, you're not going to want me. No, God, if you really knew me, trust me, you are not going to want to call me your son. As if God doesn't really know us, right? Yeah. And then I went into those rooms and I read, in many of the rooms I have steps hanging on the wall, just like we do in the back here. The 12 steps hanging on the wall. And I remember reading those steps in one of those first meetings. And I remember getting to step 4, and I thought, that's just stupid. I'm not doing that step. I mean, who wants to do that? Who wants to take a searching and fearless moral inventory of their lives? That sounds stupid. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to skip that one. And then I got to step 5 and read that one. Well, that's stupid too. If you're fuzzy on step 5, we got it on a screen for you. Admitted to God and to ourselves and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Man, I don't want to do that. That's scary. And by the way, what does exact mean? I mean, I got to go into detail? And I remember thinking, man, I could do that with myself. I'll admit that to myself. I'll admit that to God because, see, I can do those two things in private. I don't have to be held accountable. But to go and do that with another human being, man, that's scary. I will never forget sitting with my sponsor in his kitchen, at his kitchen table, before we did a 5th step. And I said, dude, I'm scared. He said, I know you are. And then you know what he said? He said, do it scared. do it scared. Man, it was scary to admit how scared I was. It was scary to admit how broken I was, how spiritually disconnected I was. It was scary to admit how sad I was, how ashamed I was, how disappointed I was. That stuff was scary, and yet that process had a way of opening my heart. Because see, what I expected him to say, some of y'all know some of my fifth step story. I thought what would happen is I would drop these bombs on him, and they were so unique and special that his jaw would just drop and he'd say, oh my goodness, I'm out of here. Or, oh my goodness, what are you doing at my kitchen table? Now, he didn't do that. You know what he did? A lot of, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I did that too. Yep, felt that too. And see, slowly what started happen is, well, if he's this way, and if he can give grace, well then, maybe God's that way too. Maybe God isn't disappointed. Maybe God isn't waiting to pound me with some shame. Maybe God isn't waiting to punish me, but maybe God is just glad that I'm home. It's why the story here is such a foundational story. Luke chapter 15, the story of the prodigal son. Remember, that's the younger son. He goes to the father and says, give me all the inheritance money. And the father says, fine, take it. And then he takes all the money and he goes and squanders it on scandalous living. And then he gets so down, he's so desperate, and he says, man, I guess I got to go home. Oh, wait a minute, I can't go home. My father's going to hate me. He's going to turn on me. He's going to punish me. But he has no other options. So he goes home, and you remember what happens? The father figure in the story, who we assume to be like God, is waiting in the driveway. And when the son gets home, the father runs to welcome the son home and welcome him. The text says, in compassion. In other words, welcome home, my boy. But Dad, Pops, are you mad at me? No. Welcome home. It's time to celebrate. You see, what I had to learn was, when you begin to see yourself as God sees you, through God's eyes, you will, it's just the way it works, you will begin to open yourself to others. It's just the way it is. But here's the deal, y'all. There is a great temptation to take your pain and your experiences and to see yourself as the victim. And when you see yourself as the victim, you are not seeing yourself as God sees you. And you know how this works, right? You get stuck in your past, and your past consumes you, and it defines you, and life is still all about you, and therefore you are still stuck in the same old selfishness and self-centeredness, and life is still all about you. And listen, what happened to you, the terrible things that happened to you, those things might not be your fault. They weren't your fault. But what you do with that pain today is totally up to you. Some of you have done some things that you're ashamed of. They bring you great amounts of pain to reflect on these things. You're embarrassed about these things, and these things, your past has a way of consuming you, and it's holding you back from truly living life. And listen, what you do with those experiences today is totally up to you. Do you know who you are? And do you know how God sees you? And by the way, Viktor Frankl, you know Viktor Frankl? He was a psychiatrist. He was a Holocaust survivor. He wrote a very popular book called Man's Search for Meaning. Highly recommend it. You should go read that tonight, Man's Search for Meaning. In this book, he says, a person can gain a strong sense of meaning when they find a redemptive perspective toward their suffering. And he says that a redemptive perspective can be something, get this, something we've learned, empathy we've gained, or some greater pain somebody has been spared because of our suffering. And by the way, he doesn't mean to say that the bad things that happen in your life are actually good, that the negative turns are positive turns. But what he's saying is, if we are going to heal, we must find something meaningful that has come out of that suffering. It's a wild thought, isn't it? Your story, your heart can spare somebody else suffering in the world. Yeah, because all of a sudden you can look them in the eyes and say, you're not alone. All of a sudden you can look at them and say, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Because the truth is, people, you might have something that they need for their journey. You might have tools and experiences that other people need to survive and thrive in this world. And see, this thinking is all over the scriptures. This is not foreign thinking. This is not new thinking. There's nothing new about this idea. There's a story about Jesus in the Gospels and in John's Gospel. And it's the story of right after Jesus ate dinner with his best friends, his disciples. It was right after one of his best friends had betrayed him. And he launches into this discourse. And by the way, he's getting ready to die, and he knows it. He's getting ready to be sent to a Roman execution stake called a cross. He's going to be crucified on a cross. And you would expect Jesus to begin talking about the importance of setting up boundaries, the importance of setting up barriers and protecting yourself and defenses. And you know what he says instead? He talks about love and vulnerability. He says this. We'll put it on the screen. Let me give you a new command. Love one another. Right after he was betrayed by a best friend, love one another in the same way I have loved you. You love one another. And then later in the New Testament, there's a guy by the name of the Apostle Paul, went around and started different churches, different movements, and then he would stay in connection with them through writing a letter. He says this to the city, the church in the city of Corinth. He says, but we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. In other words, your life is like a jar of clay. By the way, it's the most fragile of possessions you could have in the first century. These possessions, they would often fall to the ground and break and crack. In fact, when they do excavating now, still in the Holy Land, they find millions of shards of these broken jars of clay. And Paul says, your life is like a jar of clay. Sometimes you fall to the ground. Sometimes you crack. Sometimes you break into a million little pieces. Your life is like a jar of clay, but he says, hold on, because God is doing something in you and through you that you could never, ever do for yourself. And then he says, we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed but not in despair, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. In other words, the hard stuff in your life might bring life to other people. The hard stuff in your life might be the good stuff in other people's lives. Is your heart open? Or is it closed? You see, there's some ancient wisdom literature that can be really helpful here. In the middle of the Bible, there's this book called the Proverbs. And the Proverbs is just this ancient Hebrew stream of consciousness. And in the fourth proverb, the writer puts it this way. Above all else, guard your heart. For everything you do flows from it. Now see, in the ancient wisdom, your heart was a center. It was the place from which you live. It was the place from which everything flowed. It was the very center of your being. But see, what happens is, at some point you get burned, or you get betrayed. You get stepped on, and so you guard your heart against people. and you guard your heart against hope. And you tell yourself this is just the way it is, and it's never going to change. And by the way, Rob Bell is one of my favorite theologians and authors, and he has a podcast called The Robcast, and he just recently did an episode, and it's called How to Open Your Heart. And I want y'all, after you read Viktor Frankl's book tonight, also tonight, listen to that podcast. You will not regret it. It's that good. He tells us that living with an open heart doesn't mean that you have any it doesn't mean that you give up boundaries. It doesn't mean that you live stupidly in the world and that you're naive and unaware about how the world works. It doesn't mean that you don't have judgment about things. But he says when you live with an open heart, you're learning how to protect yourself in appropriate ways, but not at the expense of the fullness of life. And what closes your heart? He points to three things, and I think he's spot on. What closes the heart? The first thing is resentment. Resentment always closes the heart. In this community, y'all know how resentment works, right? It's when that ill thought towards somebody or towards something, it comes up and it's not dealt with. It just comes up again and again and again and again, and it starts to consume you, and you are stuck in this vicious circle of pain and oftentimes violence. Resentment will always close your heart. And the second thing that'll close your heart quicker than anything else is entitlement. Entitlement is that thinking that you got shortchanged somewhere along the way and the world owes you something. That way of thinking will never get you to be where you want to be. That way of thinking will always close your heart. And the third thing that will close your heart quicker than anything else is the thinking, the belief that you can't start over, that you did something in your past and therefore your future is set. That is so bad the future can't ever change. Or the thinking that you are too old, so you're too old to start over because all the good stuff is in the past. Or that you're too young and you're not smart enough or competent enough. That way of thinking will always close the heart. What opens the heart? He says it in one sentence and I love it. We'll throw it on the screen for you. You make peace with the risk of life. Yeah, you make peace with the risk of life. Because the truth is, risk is baked into the whole thing, isn't it? And it's risky. You want to open your heart, it's risky. You don't know how it's going to turn out. You can get hurt. But open your heart. Open your heart. Oh, Pastor, I'm really scared though. I know. Do it scared. Open your heart. Because listen, there's a risk in not doing it. And the risk is you can go on and be miserable. Everything you do flows from the heart. Some of you might remember a story about Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He was put in charge of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission after the great tragedies of apartheid in his country. And when he was asked who he wanted to serve on this commission, he said, I want victims. I want victims whose lives have been torn apart. Victims who have seen their homes burned to the ground. Victims who have been raped. Victims who have seen their parents killed in front of them. But he said if they are to serve on this commission, they cannot have stayed victims. They must be people who have forgiven their oppressors. And he said these people will be the wounded healers of South Africa. My brothers and sisters, what would it be like for you to begin to see yourself as God sees you, as a wounded healer? What does it look like for you to take all of that stuff, all of that pain, all of that baggage, all of those experiences, and to actually open your heart? So I want you to take a moment and reflect on those two questions. What would it be like for you to be a wounded healer? What would it be like for you to open your heart? Take a moment and reflect, and then we'll come back. All right, welcome back, everybody. I want to introduce you. If you're new with us, by the way, we have a guest storyteller every single week. Someone to share some of their experiences, how they identify with all this stuff, and I can't wait for you to meet tonight's guest storyteller. Thank you, dude. You are so good. Jeremy Rainwater, everybody. Jeremy Rainwater. Going to be here all night. Marcy is our guest storyteller. She's here this evening. Marcy is the one who is celebrating 1 year sober today. Yes. Here's the cool thing about Marcy. I remember when Marcy walked in a year ago. Marcy's a mom of 4. Where is she? She's here. Okay, I'm looking around. She's not here. Did she get? Uh-oh, she freaked out. Marcy's a mom of 4. As we addicts and alcoholics are when we come into healing, we're messy. Things aren't going well. We're like stepping into hope, and that can be really scary. And her life is being restored, like right in front of our eyes. And I want you all to hear some of her story because it's just really moving and powerful. So help me welcome to the table Marcy Singer.
Here.
Marcy doesn't generally wear beanies, but it's
Never.
-3 degrees. You know, they said
very cold.
this is the coldest it's been in years in Colorado. I might have made that up. Maybe it wasn't years, but for sure months. For sure months.
Well, and the heater's not working in here.
the heater's
so
not working.
It's an unfortunate
Yeah,
night for the
if
heater.
y'all
not
were here
working.
live with us in person, you'd see a bunch of people in coats. It's working. It's just not prime.
Where am
All
I
right, let's get it. Can we get into this interview because this is good. This is good stuff. You were in the bathroom, but I was telling people.
I heard that, yeah.
When you
That
first
was a
came
little
in. Do you remember
embarrassing.
that? No, that's not embarrassing. That's how we are. Like this is you in all your glory coming in. And I remember it so clearly because you said you had 4 kids, and I was like, dang, we have 4 kids.
Yeah.
And not many of us have.
It was meant to be. I think there were literally like 5 people in that meeting that had
were.
4 kids. So I felt at home right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I asked Marcy to be here tonight was on December 29th, I read her Facebook post. People are not going to your timeline and they're scrolling through December 29th. What'd she say? You don't have to do that. I'll just tell you what she said. She shared her story in a really brave and courageous way. You shared your story publicly. And I always, I'm always amazed and encouraged when people do that because the surprises that come out of it. And I want you to share with people here and with people virtually, what were the surprises that came from, and tell us how it was scary. I mean, it's scary opening your heart, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
talk to us
I
about
almost chickened out, honestly. I mean, I didn't sit down to write necessarily a Facebook post. You know, you have that little note thing on your iPhone, and over probably the last, I don't know, since August, I just kind of wrote tidbits down of what, you know, I felt like my journey of sobriety and what all of that had kind of meant to me. And a little bit of my story, it just kind of, I just get like tidbits here and there, and I'm a mom of 4 kids, so I don't sit down and ever do anything for too long, honestly. I just got this inkling kind of after Christmas that it was time to kind of let go of the fear that I had of everybody knowing. I mean, I would say I'm a really authentic person, except for this huge secret that I was hiding. In
Really
that,
authentic, except for the secrets you
except
keep.
for that one thing,
Yeah.
which is that I had a serious closet drinking problem.
Yeah.
It didn't mean that I never drank in front of other people. I did, but I don't think most people would know the extent of the grip that alcohol had on me,
Yeah.
particularly wine. My friend Annie, who's here tonight, she said I'm a fancy alcoholic. So
You are fancy. I've heard your
I mean, I
stories.
didn't drink
So
vodka.
fancy.
I liked wine, and I could drink a lot of wine. So, you know,
It was out of a bag in a backpack, but you could drink a lot.
true. Yeah, I could drink a lot of wine.
And I want to come back to that because as much as and y'all listen, if you've dealt with addiction, you know you have to laugh, right? I mean, otherwise you'll die of tears and pain. So we have to laugh at this stuff, but the seriousness of it, and I want to come back to this, is it also takes everything from you. It takes the things that are most valuable, which are relationships.
Yeah.
But I want to back up for a moment. When you shared the post and you got brutally honest on a social media post, what happened? How did people respond?
Gosh.
Let me say this, how are people still responding?
Sure. Right away, my feed blew up. People were private messaging me, commenting, calling, texting. Just really an overwhelming response. I was not prepared for it. I didn't expect it, honestly. It wasn't a reason that I shared my story to get a lot of responses. I don't share a whole lot on Facebook typically. But it was really an act of faith that I felt like it was a step I needed to take for my own healing. And I think in turn, that vulnerability has, it's just, I opened my heart, and I feel like in turn people are opening their hearts to me. And that's just a huge privilege.
Y'all
I
should
feel so
put
honored.
that in your notes section right now. If you're taking notes, tweet it out. Because that's exactly how it works. When we open our hearts, we're like, oh, what's going to happen? I put this thing out to the universe. And my experience and what you're identifying is, yeah, people then open up to you.
Yep.
It creates an atmosphere of openness and authenticity and all the stuff we crave in life that I think like
Yeah.
deep down inside we crave. And you connected with people that you hadn't connected with in a long time, right?
Yeah, people called and messaged me, friends that I hadn't spoken with really in 10, 15, even 20 years. So it was really it's been a wonderful gift to just receive that. I feel like a whole new world's opened up for me, honestly, which is just so cool. And it's really encouraging to me because, you know, my alcoholism, that thing that I held so close for a long time, was just crushing me.
Yeah.
It was crushing me inside. I think if somebody looked at me on the outside and my family, they wouldn't know that I was like
Yeah.
slowly killing myself.
So talk to us about that a little bit. When we say it'll take everything from you, tell us what it took from you. So I realize we're backing up a little bit. This is pre-Facebook post. But tell us, because that's why opening up is hard. If you really know me, are you still going to want me? If you guys really knew me, would you turn on me?
Right.
Tell us what was taken from you. How were your relationships with your family, with God? How were these relationships affected?
Sure. Well, just a brief little history. I'm 41, 4 kids. I didn't really drink until my 30s. I mean, I had alcohol occasionally, but I was not a drinker by any means. I grew up with an alcoholic father who died of alcoholism, and it was always something that I was really, how he lost his marriage with my mom of 35 years and essentially was estranged from his family for the latter part of his life. And I just, I was so scared, right? But then I had a brain hemorrhage when I was pregnant with baby number 4, and subsequent really major depression that almost took my life. In fact, tomorrow is the 9-year kind of anniversary, or 9 years from Valentine's Day of 2012, when I drove downtown to jump off of a building to take my life. And I'd had a brain bleed, spontaneous brain bleed. And I think my body was just like, what is going on, right? So I had severe clinical depression for about 8 months. And it took trying to commit suicide twice, 2 hospitalizations in a psychiatric ward, and electroconvulsive therapy, which is a pretty serious treatment for seriously depressed patients who don't respond to other treatments. So ECT and God, I believe, absolutely saved my life. And so after that,
Can we just pause for a moment?
Sure.
Because I know there's people, maybe even in this room, or people that are watching tonight, and you're barely hanging on. You're at the end of your rope. You're considering, you've thought about what it would be like. Maybe it would just be better if I end it all. Maybe it'd be better if I drive downtown and jump off that building. Here's a picture of a life who is at the end, and things can be different. Things truly can be restored. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean life is just perfect again, but things can be made new again. So hold on. If you're watching and that's you, I mean, it was just a couple of weeks ago, someone started off a celebration by saying, I didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
We celebrate that stuff around here because we know the burdens that get carried, so hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So this kind of fast forwarding, after I got better from the depression, and I had psychosis as well, it was all this just jumbled mess, 3 little kids and a new baby. And my husband is still here. We're almost married 20 years. I joke that if he did not divorce me through that, he's just never going to leave me.
Someone was hooting and hollering back there. We should clap for that.
Honestly, he's a very, very good man. Happy that I didn't kill myself, right? By the grace of God, it was an absolute miracle. My husband drove around downtown Denver looking for me. And whoever's familiar with downtown Denver, there's one-way streets, and it's just, I hate driving downtown. But I was driving downtown literally for hours, and I hadn't driven in months because I was so sick. And I told Patrick on the phone, I'm leaving. I don't love you. I don't love the kids. I'm never coming back, right? Because I went with the intent of not living anymore. And he drove around not knowing where I was, and I stopped at a stoplight, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and he was behind me. He had a pretty unique old car, so it was recognizable. And I literally just wept, and I said, okay, God. And a police officer came, and I was taken to a psychiatric ward where I stayed for 2 weeks. But anyway, fast forward, I survived. I did not succeed in killing myself, thank God. And I.
Speaking of God, how did you see God at the time?
I've had a pretty strong faith my whole life. If anybody has experienced true depression, I mean, I think there's varying levels of depression, seasonal depression, major depression. It's just a nothingness, really. It was brutal. It was, I couldn't take it anymore. Yet I did know that God is a loving God, and he loved me. Bible to the psychiatric ward, and I read it. It didn't make me feel better.
Yeah.
But I always held on to that, honestly. And when I saw my husband pull up behind me, I said, okay, God. It was an act of knowing, he's there, I'm here, this is terrible. I don't really know what to say,
Yeah.
But so that's when drinking entered my life. When I got better, I was happy that I was alive and feeling better. I could enjoy my children. We had, we'd invite people over for parties, and drinking just kind of slowly crept into my life. And it's not something I really intentionally did in terms of becoming an alcoholic. I don't know if anybody intentionally becomes an alcoholic.
Yeah, right. I mean, no one wakes up and says, you know what, today I'm going to be an alcoholic.
No, it's just not.
Yeah, it's not how we roll.
Not how we roll.
Yep.
But it happened over about the course of, I'd say, I don't know, maybe 6 years, slowly building. I tried to stop drinking once or twice, and I didn't consider myself an alcoholic up until just really right before I got sober a year ago. But I had signs that it was a problem. I mean, who pours a bottle of wine into an Nalgene bottle and hides it in their laundry basket?
Well,
Me? Anybody? Okay, see, that's why
this
I'm
is the
in
kind of
AA.
church where everyone
That's
just
why
raises
I'm
their
in
hand. We are a hot mess around here.
One of my first meetings, somebody said, "Did you ever hide it in your vacuum bag?" And I'm like, "That is brilliant. Wow." No, I didn't. I actually didn't do that. I never thought of it.
She said, well,
She did.
well,
She did.
there and.
But did you know that an Nalgene bottle holds a bottle of wine? I don't know if you knew that, but it does.
Someone said yes.
So anyway, it got to the point where my husband stopped drinking just because he was like, we've got 4 kids. We come from families that have alcoholism, and he wanted a better way to serve our family, to show our children what life could be like without alcohol. And at first I was like really pissed off at him because I'm a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids, and he's an attorney. He has a stressful job. He can be really hard to live with sometimes because he's an attorney. So I love you. But
That's important.
alcohol became a way for me to take care of myself, right? To wind down at the end of the day, to kind of forget about just all the stress and yuck of life.
And you disconnect, right?
Oh,
I mean,
totally,
from
yeah.
relationships.
Yep.
When you talked to me the other day, you were telling
Yep.
me how disconnected you were in your marriage and with your
Yep.
kids, and it steals those relationships. That's
for
what
sure.
we have to admit about addiction. It steals from us.
Yeah.
So I want people to also hear. So when we're talking about, you came in a year ago looking for healing.
Yeah.
You stepped into a new life 1 year ago today.
Mm-hmm.
What's it been like?
It's been really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's been beautiful. It's been hard. I mean, I think 2020 has been hard for all of us.
Yeah.
Who hasn't it been hard for? But gosh, it would have been a whole lot harder for me if I had still been drinking and trying to hide it. So yeah, relationships have been restored. My husband and I have really grown much closer. I'm present with my children, which is just a really sweet gift. Not that they don't
Huge.
annoy me a lot of times, always, but they're awesome, and they're these excuse me, just beautiful humans who I just have such a responsibility to take care of and love and nurture. So I feel like when I was drinking, I was really just half numb to my whole entire life.
Yep.
And that's what alcohol does. It steals from you. It tells you that it's going to give you something really good, but ultimately it steals.
Yeah.
So
Hey, by the way, if you're in this room, raise your hand if you're comfortable with it. Raise your hand if you got sober during this pandemic in the last 12 months. Wow, yeah, let's clap for that. Many hands. If you're online watching and you got sober during this pandemic in the last 12 months, let us know. Just raise your hand online, however you do that. Isn't there a hand raising emoji? Do that emoji and tell us when you got sober, because celebrate that. You didn't drink through a pandemic. That's a big dang deal.
Yeah.
Even for you, Derek. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, seriously, celebrate that stuff. Marcy, one final word.
yep.
What do you say to someone who's like, man, it's scary. I don't want people to know me. I'm scared that they could turn on me. They could hurt me. This could all fall apart. I don't know how it's going to turn. I don't know how it's going to go. what do you say to someone who might be considering opening their heart, but when they think about it, it goes like this?
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Step out into the light. I mean, there's a whole beautiful world out there. When you open your heart, when you relinquish things that have tight grips on you. I personally call it sin. I think my drinking was a sin, not because alcohol is bad, but because what it became to me was a sin.
Yeah.
And it separated me from the people I love. It separated me from Christ. And I've experienced such freedom, right?
Yeah.
Since opening up and just surrendering. I feel like I took an act of faith and surrendered. I think becoming sober was an act of faith for me and a point of surrendering. And then the next step was to share that with people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I am so glad you're sharing your story. Thank you for being here tonight and opening your heart. Marcy Singer, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, thank you,
Thanks,
thank you.
Ryan.
Hey, and Marcy, I didn't ask you this, but will you stick around on the thread and just, if you have any questions for Marcy, post them. If you want to show love to Marcy, if you want to encourage her along the way, if you want to wish her a happy birthday for 1 year.
I would like to say really quick, I
Yes,
noticed
say
that
it.
my brother, who is serving in Korea with the Army, is watching tonight. So,
What's his name?
Matthew.
Matthew, good to have you here, brother.
Watson.
Thank you for your service.
I love you.
All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. We are going to, the way we end things here at Free is to, just like we begin with celebrations, we end with the heavy, the heartaches, the burdens that we're carrying. We carry these burdens together because you, my brothers and sisters, were not created to carry the heaviness alone. We carry it together. God joins with us in the carrying. Why? Because God always hears the cries of the people. We have a prayer team here. Jason leads our prayer team. Jason, I'm so thankful for you, man. Glad you're here tonight. Jason leads us. We connect with you throughout the week, so if you put a comment in, we will connect with you. If you speak here tonight during this time in just a couple minutes, we will connect with you through the week if you want it. We try to do it in non-creepy ways, but we do carry these burdens together. So I encourage you, just like you did with celebrations, to get vulnerable. Open your heart. Let the community in. Something beautiful happens when we carry the burdens together. So take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I'm sorry, take 3 minutes, put it in the comments, and then we're going to come right back. All right? Man, we ran out of time here, didn't we? Listen, if you're in person and you didn't get to share and you needed to share, you have something to share, feel free to stick around afterwards. Talk to me or Jason or Tammy. We'd be happy to talk with you. So, but there we go. There we go. Y'all, I know you all virtually didn't hear this, but we're reminded in this room tonight, this disease of addiction it takes everything from you. It's a deadly one, and it won't stop sometimes. So thank you for lifting that up. And man, heavy hearts, prayers. What do we have from the online community? You want to go first?
Sure. Jim says, asking for prayers for his brother Erwin, recently diagnosed with terminal cancer, moving into a new home in OKC near Virginia hospital treatment. Thankfully, has been a man of renewed faith since getting sober 35 years ago. He seems to be readying himself for transition. Yeah, Erwin's been in our prayers for quite some time, huh?
Continued prayers for Erwin and prayers for you too, Jim. I'm glad you're part of this community, brother. Thank you for lifting Erwin and his family up. Continued prayers.
Good to have you here.
Lance Willoughby, finally he has a profile picture. Thank you, Lance.
Poor Lance.
Lance says, my great friend Dale finally succumbed to COVID this week. Prayers for his wife, Darian, and their families.
Sorry, Lance.
Yeah, sorry, Lance. Man, prayers for your friend Dale and his family. Thank you for lifting them up.
Leslie says, prayers for my boss, Al, who's in the hospital with COVID. Dang. Prayers for your boss.
Yeah, thank you for lifting them up, Leslie. Prayers for Al. Suzanne says, please keep my husband Kenny in your prayers. He had a cervical surgery last week. He has 150 staples inside and out on the neck and back and head. My goodness, still having lots of pain. Suzanne, tell Kenny we love him, we're praying for him, and our hearts are with y'all. Thank you for sharing that, lifting that up with this community. Prayers for you guys, Suzanne.
Christy says, Roy, oh
Richardson.
no, yeah, oh no, Mama, prayers for healing.
Oh, all right.
Okay, prayers for healing.
Prayers for healing for Roy. Mike says, prayers for a friend struggling right now, had 7 years and has relapsed several times lately. This disease is very patient. Yeah, Mike, thanks for saying it that way, that this disease is patient. It can be sneaky. So prayers for your friend who sounds like in the midst of relapse. Thanks for lifting them up. Prayers for them.
Gavin is new with us tonight. Welcome,
What's up,
Gavin. Thanks for sharing with us. He says, been very sick on my deathbed, throwing up. Need healing. All prayers appreciated. Day one of not throwing up. Prayers for my sister Trisha with cancer. Pray for this world that we find peace.
All right. Lifting you up, Gavin. Prayers for you, prayers for healing, and for your sister.
I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for being with me.
Hey, Brian, can we celebrate 12 new first-timers online?
All right, Danny just let me know 12 new people, their first time in this community. Welcome you, first-time guests with us here at 3. If you have questions, let us know. If we can be of help, of assistance to you at all, let us know. We want to be connected. So if you're new here and you got questions, put them in the comments. We will get back to you, or shoot us a message. We will get back to you. I promise we will get back to you. Glad you're here. Welcome to Free. All right, y'all, here's what we're going to do. We are going to close things with, shall we close with a word of prayer? I want to do it a bit different. What's that?
We don't have it on screen. You can't.
Okay, I want to do it, yeah, even if it's not on screen. I want you to, I'm going to pull it up on my iPad. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Usually we do a corporate prayer and we say it together and have it on the screen. But I just want to say some words over you. This prayer comes from Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And I want you to open your hands if you're comfortable with that. It's a sign of openness. And I want you to just receive these words in this prayer. He says, "Dear child of God, you are loved with a love that nothing can shake. A love that loved you long before you were created. A love that will be there long after everything has disappeared. You are precious with a preciousness that is totally quite immeasurable. And God wants you to be like God, filled with life and goodness and laughter and joy. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, this week, may you open your heart. And if you have to, do it scared. Do it scared. And may you, my brothers and sisters, experience all kinds of grace and peace this week. We'll see you next time.